Hello. So today I thought it would be a great time to go through and talk about teeth, and specifically aging a horse by their teeth. Um, so one thing, if you have a question throughout this, please make a comment in the chat box. And then if you're watching this at a later time, the recorded version, feel free to send me an email at any time, and I can get back to you. So aging a horse by their teeth. It's pretty old practice. I would say it's been around for a really long time, and there are definitely people out there that are probably way more experienced than I am at aging a horse by looking at their teeth. But I think it's a good practice to know. It's a good idea to know, at least have some idea of general things they're going to tell you, maybe even just generally, is this a young horse or an older horse? Which can help you, if you were to purchase a horse, specifically one that's not registered or papered, being able to look at their teeth and at least have an idea of maybe are they, under 5? Are they under 10? Are they in the range of 10 to 15? Or are they older than that? I mean, some of those things you can kind of get at least a general idea. It's pretty accurate on a really young horses. As horses get older, it's a lot harder to age them by their teeth. There's a lot of factors that are going to go into play. If they have different vices, that can change some of the teeth wear. Also, if you have a horse that is stabled, so lives in a stall, fed a pretty easy diet of, baled hay and some type of grain mix, they're going to have teeth that are going to appear younger than necessarily a horse that's out grazing, especially if they're out in a pasture that's got a sandier soil. They're going to have a lot more wear on their teeth. So really what we're going to look at when we're aging a horse by their teeth is the 12 front teeth, or what those are called their incisors. And so that is going to be the main thing you look at. And so we divide their incisors into 3 different categories. So there's the central incisors, which are the 2 middle, top, and bottom teeth are going to be their central incisors. Their intermediates are going to be the 2 just on the outside of those central incisors. And then your corners are the last 2 incisors on the top and bottom. So you have your centrals, which are the 4 middle, so 2 top, 2 bottom in the middle, intermediates directly next to those, and then corners are the furthest out of the top corner incisors. The next, we would look at canines, whether or not they have them. I will say that not all horses have them. Some do, some don't. So it's not necessarily something we look at for aging, except for if they do have them, it can tell you generally some ages because of at what point they would, their canines would come in. And then their molars, in the adult horse, they're gonna have 24 molars. So 4 key changes that happen to their teeth that you should look at for determining their age. And so the first thing is occurrence of permanent teeth. So if they lost their baby teeth, their deciduous teeth, and have their permanent teeth came in. Because once that happens, you're going to know they're older horse. Disappearance of cups, and I'll talk more about cups here in a little bit. And then the angle of incidence, which I'll go into detail more about what that is, and then the shape of the surface of the teeth. So all of those 4 things are the main things you're really looking at to determine their age. So occurrence of permanent teeth, disappearance of cups, the angle of incidence, so the angle of their teeth, and then the shape of the surface of the teeth. So they're cups. The cups you're going to see when you're looking down on the teeth. So like in this bottom picture, you can see this picture, these teeth do not have any cups. So this would be, an older horse because they're usually gone by the time they're 8 years of age. However, that's from all teeth. They do leave at different ages. So in this top picture, you can see the center of the tooth, the infundibulum, is also another word for cups. So you can see in this top picture, right here, that black area, that is the cup, or another word, infundibulum. And so when you're looking at your younger horses, they have cups, and then as they age, they disappear. And then as it disappears, it's usually going to become an enamel spot. So you see, like on this cup, so this is as a horse ages, the teeth, how the surface of the tooth is going to change. So it starts off with a cup, and then that cup starts to deteriorate, and it's going to cement into the infundibulum, and then eventually it's just going to have an enamel spot, which looks like this down here in this bottom picture. So it's still a spot on the teeth, which, you know, I teach about this in class, and we look at teeth, and I have a lot of times where the students don't really understand the difference between the cup and the enamel spot. And so that's one thing to be able to determine and identify. But once they have a cup and this dental star, or an enamel spot and the dental star, they definitely don't have cups anymore. And so a lot of times I tell them to, you know, that's one thing to look at, is if it looks like they have a cup, but they also have this other spot, dark spot in their tooth, then it's probably that they don't have cups anymore. And then instead they have an enamel spot and a dental star. So the dental star is a pulp cavity of the tooth. It appears at 8 years of age in the first incisor, and it'll grow larger and darker as the horse ages. But it can be confusing on your younger horses, or with if you haven't really seen, to see the difference. So then next is talking about the angle of the teeth and the surface of them. So the angle. So when they're young horses, if you're looking at their teeth from the side view, so looking at the side of their head, their top and bottom incisors are going to be more straight up and down as when they're young. And then as they get older, they're going to become more of like a triangle or become pointy, where the top incisors to the bottom incisors kind of make like a point. So if you look at my video of me, you can see, you know, when they're young, their incisors kind of look like this. And as they age, they get more like this and triangular. So when you look at their teeth from the side, they look more like this as they're older, and they're more up and down when they're younger. Some changes also that happen are the surface of their teeth. And you can see in this picture over here to the right, it's a really good description of what the surface of the teeth looks like. So shortly after their teeth erupt, then this long diameter right here, its thickness, and then the short diameter right here. And so when they're young would be like this horse. They have nice round, and you're going to have a longer A to B than C to D. And then as they get older, they become more round, and then they become more triangular, all the way down to they get really kind of pointy. And so they're going to start off really oval. So when they're young, they're nice oval shaped. They become more round as they get older, and then they become more triangular as they get even older. So around 12 years of age, they're going to become pretty round, and the two diameters are going to become pretty equal. And then around 14 to 17 years of age, they're going to become more triangular. And then like a horse that's over 20, they're going to become really narrow and long. So going into specifically what you're looking for. So an immature horse has about 24 temporary teeth. A lot of times these are going to be called baby teeth or deciduous teeth or even milk teeth. So that's something to keep in mind. They do have quite a few names for immature teeth. So baby teeth, milk teeth, or deciduous teeth. And basically horses are similar to people in that they're going to have baby teeth, they're going to lose those and then get their permanent or adult teeth. Um, one thing to think about horses' teeth is we consider it they erupt, so they are going to break through the surface and then they continually grow. A horse's teeth continually grow throughout their lifetime until that's why they need to be filed and managed and taken care of until they lose their baby teeth, and then their permanent teeth will start erupting and then they grow until they usually for the rest of their life. So looking here, when I was talking about which ones were the center incisors, so these first four right here are their center incisors, and those are going to usually start to erupt when they're about approximately 8 days old, and it does vary. I will say these are just like the averages. So around 8 days old, these center incisors are going to erupt. And then next is your intermediate incisors, which are these two right here and these two on this side. So these 4 teeth, and those are going to be about 8 weeks. And then lastly, you're going to have here your corner incisors, which are going to come in about 8 months. So you can see center, intermediate, corner. And the appearance of these temporary teeth are going to be small. They're going to be really white in color. So as a horse ages, their teeth are become more and more yellow. They're going to have a well-defined neck. So they're going to be nice and straight up and down. And their side-to-side length is greater than their front-to-rear length. So this side-to-side length right here is going to be greater than, so it's probably easier to see here. So this side-to-side length here is going to be greater than this length up and down. And so they're going to be very oval in surface. Okay, so then going into changes in their teeth that are going to happen. So at 1 year old, they are going to start to lose their cups from their center incisors. So you can see here a 2-year-old horse. So at 1, they've already lost their cups. So by 2, they shouldn't have them. And then also their cups are going to disappear from their intermediate incisors at 1.5 years. And then from their corner incisors by 2 years of age. So all incisors at 2 years old should appear worn. So when you're looking at this, one thing you can see is that instead of just having one solid cup, they have an enamel spot and a dental cup or a dental spot that is going to be in their teeth. So instead of it just having one solid spot, they have more than one, which is why then you can tell that they no longer have cups in any of these teeth. So then looking at our permanent teeth, mares are gonna have 36 to 38 permanent teeth. The reason there's 2 less potentially depends on if they have canines or not, because not all horses have them. So 36 to 38 teeth. Stallions and geldings, they're gonna have 40 to 42 teeth because they potentially will have wolf teeth and those things as well as their canines. So then the eruption of their permanent teeth. Oh, and then going back to this, on this picture, you can see this horse, these teeth look more in wear than they did in the 2-year-old picture. They're getting to be a little bit more yellow. And then looking at here, you can definitely see that there are no cups in the top teeth. There's no cups in the bottom, middle, center incisors, and those are all what is going to help you to see that this horse is 3 years old. So then eruption of their permanent teeth. So their center incisors, they're going to start to get their permanent center incisors at 2.5. So by the time they're 3, they should have their permanent center incisors. And so that's one thing you can also see with these teeth is they look bigger. They are not quite as oval. They're going to start to become more round, but not quite, not at this age, but they start to have that happen. Their intermediate incisors are going to come in at 3.5 years old, and their corner incisors at 4.5 years. And so similar, it kind of works together. And then with their molars and premolars, they're going to be cut at approximately the same time as incisors. So their second molar around 2 years old, central molars 2.5 years, third premolar 3 years, intermediate molars 3.5 years, and their fourth premolar and third molar at 4 years. And so you can kind of see what that would be like. And then also their canine teeth are going to get about approximately 4 to 5 years old. And so here you can see in this picture, oh, went too far, that this horse does have canines. So you know it's got to be over 3 because it would not have these canine teeth if it was under 4. So appearance of our permanent teeth, they're going to be yellow. They're going to be larger than their temporary teeth. They're not going to have as a well-defined neck, and they're going to have a more round surface. So they go from being really oval to nice and round. And then as they get even older, they're going to become more of a triangle. So at 5 years old, we call this a horse having a full mouth, and that is because they're going to have all permanent incisors and wear. So they should have all their permanent teeth at that age, and they should all be starting to wear. And then also at approximately 6 years of age, their cups are going to disappear from their lower center incisors. And then at 7 years old, their cups should disappear from their lower intermediate incisors. So when they were under 4, they were losing their cups from their top incisors, but then as they get over 5, they're going to start to lose the cups from their bottom incisors. At 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then they disappear from the upper center incisors at 9, and then they disappear from their intermediate incisors at 10, and this is from their permanent teeth. So they lose their cups from their baby teeth, and then they eventually lose them again from their adult permanent teeth. And then cups is from their upper corner incisors at 11 years old. And we say at 11 years old, a horse has a smooth mouth because at this point, they should not have any cups in any of their teeth at this point. Another thing that happens at around 11, and I would say some of these happen around 10 to 11, is they're potentially going to get a hook on their corner incisor. And you can see in this picture down here that this tooth has a nice hook on it. And so if it has a hook or starting to have a hook, then they're probably around 10 or 11. If it's a pretty big hook like this, they may be even older than that. However, if you have had good dental care on your horse, they potentially will not have this hook because most veterinarians or equine dentists, they are going to keep this nice and smooth, and they're not going to let a hook happen. So that's one thing too. If you have horses that are being well taken care of and they're having their teeth floated regularly, you potentially are not going to see this. But if you had an older horse that maybe doesn't have as good a dental care at 11 years of age, you should see a hook. Another thing that's going to happen on the corner incisor at around 10 to 11 years of age is a Gallivan's groove. And I would say depending on what reference you look at, some say it's 10, some say 11. I think it's easy just to say it happens around 10. But what this is you can see on this tooth of this 10-year-old that there's this little, it's kind of like a little groove or indentation. It's usually dark colored right there. And so that start of that Gallivan's groove is around 10, 11 years old. It's usually going to be about halfway down their tooth by the time they're about 15. It should be all the way to the bottom of their tooth when they're about 20. And then it starts to go back up their tooth. And so that's why sometimes if you have a horse that's over 20, it can be sometimes difficult to know if that horse over 20 or is it in their high teens, because that Gallivan's groove is going to start to recede back up or, start to disappear on their tooth. And so they may appear to be between 15 and 20 when they're really closer to 25. And so that's the hard part about with your older horses. So as they get older, 4 general changes are going to occur. The angle of incidence is going to increase. So that means their teeth, instead of being more straight up and down, they're going to become more triangular. So it's kind of what I showed earlier. Their teeth are going to look worn. So just looking at their teeth, they're not going to be as smooth. And if they haven't had good dental care, they may have waves in their molars because they wear from grinding, and if they get one tooth that gets a little unlevel, they start to wear that way. Another thing is their gums are going to start to recede, and then their teeth are going to become triangular. So they start off nice and oval, and they get round, and then they become more triangular. So some things to think about. So that hopefully gave you a good idea of just some things to be looking at your teeth as far as aging them. I will say your really young horses, looking at those cups and where they're at, are their teeth look like baby teeth? Do they look like adult teeth? Are all things that make it a lot easier to identify ages of your young horses. Once your horse hits 9, 10, it gets a little bit more difficult. Usually if they start to have a Gallivan's groove, that's a pretty good indication. You can kind of tell, oh, they're like probably 10, 11, 12, up to 15. But then I would say, depending on how your horse looks, it may get more difficult because as our horses get older, it can sometimes be deceiving. I do say you should always look at the horse as well as their teeth. Do they look old? Is their back starting to drop? Is their backbone starting to show a little more? Some of those can also tell you that the horse is getting up there in age and probably in their 20s instead of, in their teens. So some management practices or things to think about doing with your horses. In your 2 to 3 year olds, you do want to be paying attention to their teeth. Potentially, do they have wolf teeth? A lot of young horses, if they have wolf teeth, they're going to fall out on their own when they lose their baby teeth. However, some horses, they don't fall out when they lose their baby teeth. And if that happens, you would want to monitor that. Potentially, you might want to have them pulled because sometimes they can cause to rub on their gums, or potentially when you put a bit in their mouth, they can hinder some of that. And so it's just something to pay attention to. Also around that age, you want to check, sometimes when their permanent teeth come in, they haven't actually lost their baby tooth yet. And so their permanent tooth is going to come in underneath that baby tooth, and it's going to cause that baby tooth to kind of stay on there and cause a cap. And so I wish I would have put a picture in here, but I didn't think about it. And so potentially those caps will need to be removed because you don't want to have teeth that are all unlevel because that's going to cause wearing problems. And so if they have caps, those are something that your equine dentist or veterinarian can look at. And then also checking for points. So something to also know about horses' teeth is they don't wear evenly. So they're not lined up perfectly evenly. So if you look at my picture of me, so their teeth, instead of being, completely like level, their top and bottom teeth like this, they're set kind of like this. And so when they eat, they grind like this, but there's going to be a surface on the outer side that is going to not be getting as much wear because it's not going to be grinding. And so it has a tendency for that tooth to wear off right here, but then get a pointy points or sharp edges on the sides. And so it's definitely something you want to check on your horse's teeth. You want to look back in there. If they get points, it can cause irritation to their cheeks because it can rub, and it can cause sores in their mouth. It can make them not want to eat, which then is potentially going to be problematic. And a lot of horses, we start them when they're 2 to 3 year olds, start riding them. And if you have teeth problems, it can delay some of that, being able to ride them and start them. They may be harder to start than you would like. They may toss their head. They may be unhappy. And some of that is just because they potentially need their teeth corrected. As 3-year-olds, you should check their second permanent cheek teeth for caps to make sure that if they, once they got those permanent teeth in, that they don't have caps. And then same again for 4-year-olds when they get those permanent teeth in, that also they don't have caps. And then your adult horses, it's recommended that you have them examined annually so you can make sure that they don't get big waves in their teeth, that their teeth are wearing evenly, that when they lose their baby teeth, they have a permanent tooth coming in underneath it. Or sometimes older horses, they'll randomly lose a tooth, which, or maybe they lost their baby tooth and they never got a permanent tooth. Well, their other tooth that's in that same location, either on the top or the bottom, will grow up into that hole and can cause some problems. So it's definitely important to make sure you're looking in your horse's mouth, they're getting their teeth checked and floated regularly. It's recommended that they're at least checked once a year, and then floated if necessary. So floating is the going in and filing down the sharp points or edges to make sure their teeth are wearing nice and even. So I hope that from this you got some good information. If you'd like more information, I can always send you more. I'm more than happy to answer questions. I will say I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to teeth. I have a good understanding of it. I do teach a basic lab in my introductory horse class on aging and looking at their teeth and understanding that. But I can always direct you to people that probably have more experience than I do. So thank you for joining tonight. And if you have any questions, well, let me see. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at lena.luck@unl.edu. Also, this webinar will be posted online if you ever want to watch it again or if you want to show it to someone else. And then if you are watching these webinars, it would be great if you would go online and fill out the survey that corresponds with them. Really, the survey is great for me to get ideas of what people want to hear about, what they would like to learn about, so that we can make sure we're doing webinars that are current and of interest to people. And you can get to all of that if you go to 4h.unl.edu/horse. And then once on that page, there's a link to the Nebraska Equine Webinar Series. And then from there, you can get to the survey. I think I can show you what the web page looks like potentially. Oh, nope, that just brings you to the additional resources, but you can also get additional resources. There's information on Stampede and nutrition, and I will put some handouts and information on aging a horse by its teeth in here as well. All right, well, that's all I have for today. If you have anything else for me, let me know. Thank you for joining.